Elisha Hunt Rhodes, 1842–1917, was a Rhode Island native whose personal writings vividly chronicled the American Civil War. Over 4 years, Rhodes participated in nearly every major campaign of the Army of the Potomac, rising to the rank of colonel by the war's end. His diary, written during the war and later recopied, offers an unfiltered, deeply personal account of soldier life and was later featured prominently in Ken Burns' acclaimed PBS series, The Civil War. If you enjoy this type of content, please like and subscribe. These are his words. Let's begin. July 25th, 1861. The 1st Rhode Island Detached Militia left us this night for home, their time being expired. It made us feel lonesome to see them march away to the depot in such good spirits, while we are to remain and fight on. They exchanged their Springfield rifle muskets for our smoothbores before they left. I understand that we are to take possession of the barracks at Camp Sprague. July 27th, 1861. We are now in the barracks at Camp Sprague, but from the rumors I am led to believe that we are to move soon for a new camp. Headquarters, Company D, 2nd Regiment, Rhode Island Volunteers. Camp Clark, Washington, D.C., July 28, 1861. My dear sister, I received your letter last night. I will try to give you all the particulars of the battle. We left our camp on Sunday, July 21st, at 2 o'clock in the morning. We started without breakfast and had only a little hard bread in our haversacks. We marched until about 10 o'clock a.m., when our pickets were fired upon. We were on a road with woods on one side. In a few minutes we received a volley, and the orders were given for the 2nd Rhode Island Regiment to charge. We started and charged through the woods into an open field. We had about 700 men. We came out upon about 5,000 of the rebels, who started on the run for the woods on the other side of the valley. We marched to the brow of the hill and fired. Our battery came up and opened fire. The enemy opened fire from several massed forts and cut down our men in great numbers. We loaded and fired as fast as we could. This was the time that William A. Bourne was shot. He was fighting bravely when he was shot through the neck. He fell into a dry ditch and then got out and crawled into the woods. He no doubt died immediately, as the wound was a bad one. Some of us got separated from our company and joined Company F. We were near a fence. Colonel Slocum was with us. He took a prisoner and loaded his gun and fired it. The company was ordered to fall back, but I, not belonging to it, stayed near the colonel. He tried to get over the fence and received 3 wounds. I was the only man very near him when he fell. I tried to get him alone, but I found I could not carry him a great while. I called for help, and an old Crimea soldier named Thomas Parker came and helped me. We carried him to a house, and I was left with him after the firing ceased. When we left, I brought his spurs and delivered them to the lieutenant colonel. He thanked me very kindly for them. As I received the credit here, I did not think of Parker. We drove the rebels away from the fields, but our powder gave out, and they received new men, so we had to retreat. Our 2 regiments protected the men as they marched off. The rebels ran into the field with shots from their artillery and cut us off. They fired several shells at us and killed a good many men. We continued to retreat until we reached Washington. Remainder of letter missing. July 30th, 1861. Nothing but drill and guard duty. Even the late battle has become an old story. Some of our men actually became crazy from the excitement. I have recovered my strength and feel that I could make another campaign without much trouble. August 6th, 1861. All of the sick of our regiment were sent away today in charge of Surgeon Francis L. Wheaton. Today we picked up our traps and started for a little place called Brightwood, about 4 miles distant. We marched out the 7th Street Road, and after passing the hotel at Brightwood, turned down a country road, and went into camp on the farm of a Mr. Ray. The day was fearfully hot, and with our loaded knapsacks, we suffered much. Here we are to make a permanent camp and to be brigaded with other regiments. August 11th, 1861. Our camp, named Camp Brightwood, is in Maryland, just outside of the District of Columbia lines, and is on the road to Rockville in one direction and Bladensburg in another. Today we received quite a number of recruits for our regiment. I was on picket out on the road when they arrived. August 30th, 1861. The month has been passed in hard work. We have built a large fort and named it Fort Slocum after our first colonel. The city of Washington is now surrounded by a chain of forts and is considered safe from attack. We have shoveled many weary hours but feel that our labor will do some good. General Darius N. Couch is in command of our brigade, which consists of the 2nd Rhode Island Volunteers, 7th and 10th Massachusetts Volunteers, and 36th New York Volunteers. Camp life is dull, but I suppose that it is part of a soldier's duty, and it will be lively enough before we reach home again. Well, it is all for the Union. September 1st, 1861, mustered for pay today. September 29th, 1861, Sunday. Services were held this morning, and in the afternoon preparations were made for a move, but the orders did not arrive, and so we remain in camp. A beautiful day, clear and bright. Have received a box from home containing many good things, which, however, did not last long. September 30th, 1861. The regiment packed up again, ready to move. Arbors were torn down, bed sacks emptied, and straw burned, and at night the line was formed, ready for the march. After remaining in line for an hour, orders came to dismiss the men. October 1st, 1861. Still waiting to move. It is rumored that the rebels made an advance upon the forts near Chain Bridge, but retreated without attacking. Company D went on picket duty last night. I, being one of the corporals on the color guard, did not go with them, but on the afternoon of the 1st, took out the mail to the men. October 7th, 1861. A severe rainstorm with thunder and lightning. Company D doing duty as camp guards. The regiment was inspected by one of General McClellan's staff officers. Work goes on at Fort Slocum. In digging, a bed of iron ore has been found. Some of the forts are practicing with heavy guns. Tents leaked, and we got wet. October 10th, 1861. We have just heard of the arrival of the 4th Rhode Island Volunteers in Washington. Chestnuts begin to be ripe, and we have some every day in camp. Persimmons are also beginning to be eatable, and are gathered whenever found. October 11th, 1861. This morning I procured a pass and visited the camp of the 4th Rhode Island Volunteers. I stopped at Camp Sprague, where I found Battery E, Rhode Island Light Artillery, and called upon Frank Butts, who is serving as a corporal. I then went on to the camp of the 4th Rhode Island, and showing my pass to the sentinel, was sent to the sergeant of the guard, then to the officer of the guard, and then to the officer of the day, who finally admitted me. This regiment wears fine clothes, and the officers sport gold epaulets and the sergeants woolen ones. It was a curiosity to me, as our regiment has never tried to dress up very fine. Governor Sprague was present in camp, and the band played on the parade. I saw several of my Pawtuxet friends. Yesterday we had another alarm and were ordered to march immediately, but the orders were countermanded. I am getting weary of marching orders and wish that we could move, for we have been in Camp Brightwood for 2 months, and I know every tree within 2 miles of camp. I have charge of the mails for Company D. I go to the captain's tent every evening, assort the letters, and take them to camp. The men crowd around me while I read off the names upon the envelopes. Some look pleased, take their letters, and enter their tents, while others ask in a disappointed tone if I am sure that I have none for them. Chaplain Jameson's wife and daughter are in camp with him. We expect to receive our California colors next Tuesday. Dress parade closes this quiet Sunday evening. Chaplain Jameson preached this forenoon, and General Don Carlos Buell and staff were interested attendants. Governor Sprague arrived last Tuesday evening. The regiment formed with the band and received him with proper honors. He made a speech which called out loud cheers. He is a favorite with our boys. Army life is not so disagreeable as I imagined it would be, and I trust that I am prepared to do my whole duty unto death if it is required. I trust that I shall be able to live or die if need be, like a Christian soldier. October 16th, 1861, we have just finished our so-called California oven to warm our tent. It is a large hole in the center of the tent, covered over with stone with one canal or passage to carry off the smoke and another to let in a draught of air. The passageways are underground, and we left off the top stone of the oven to put in wood. It works well and keeps us very warm. Bishop Clark of Rhode Island arrived today, just as we marched out for dress parade. He addressed the regiment and told us that Captain Steer, who is absent, is improving and will soon join us. We are having battalion drill every day, and the movements are usually made at the double pace. October 17th, 1861, Thursday. Today at 1 p.m., the regiments marched about 3 miles to the vicinity of Columbia College, where we joined the other regiments of the brigade, 7th and 36th New York, and were drilled by General Darius N. Couch, our brigade commander. General Buell was present, and both officers complimented Colonel Wheaton and the 2nd Regiment upon their proficiency. We returned about dark, and as the line was dismissed, I accidentally stepped into a hole and turned my ankle. I was told that since the Mexican War there had not been held a brigade drill in the United States. It was a fine sight to see so many troops moving upon the open plain. Members of Company D, left to right, Private George L. Smith, Private Fred A. Arnold, and Private George H. Smith. October 18th, 1861, Friday. Being lame, I was excused from duty with the color guard today, and so had a good opportunity to witness the presentation of the stand of colors presented by Rhode Island citizens living in California. At 1 p.m., our regiment was formed in line, the men wearing their best uniforms and white gloves. The 4th Rhode Island and a Pennsylvania battery were on our left. Generals Buell and Couch, with many other officers, were present. The troops were reviewed by Governor Sprague, and about 3 p.m., President Lincoln and party arrived, and another review by the President took place. The colors were presented by Governor Sprague, the drums sounding and the batteries firing a national salute. The regiment then closed en masse, and Bishop Clark delivered an address, and a chaplain present offered prayer. It was dark before we were dismissed, and we wended our way to our tents for supper, while the officers and guests accompanied Colonel Wheaton to his quarters and partook of a turkey dinner. We soldiers had rice for supper. We have had a regular holiday or 4th of July, and I have enjoyed the occasion. Colonel Wheaton had a bower of green built and ornamented with flags, which added to the picturesque scene. The regiment looked fine, wearing their new crossbelts with brass plates. The colonel presented the members of the color guard with new white gloves. October 20th, 1861, Sunday. Regular services held today. Sergeant Andrew Bates and Corporal William Baker of the 4th Rhode Island have been with me today, and we have visited Fort Slocum, which looks very warlike with its large iron guns frowning from its embrasures. Captain Edward H. Sears has resigned the command of Company D and is to take a position as first lieutenant in one of the Rhode Island batteries. We cannot tell who will be our new captain. We would like to see Lieutenant William Ames promoted, but fear that we shall be disappointed. October 21st, 1861, Monday. Company D is on picket today. I rode out to the lines in a baggage wagon that carried their rations and distributed the mail. October 23rd, 1861, Wednesday, cold and rainy. Not much going on, and the boys hover over their fires in the tents. October 25th, 1861. Still very cold. Lieutenant Ames received a box of blankets from Rhode Island and distributed them to our company. Several boxes have arrived, and one of them is for me. They all searched for liquors before they were delivered to the men. I approve of this plan, as it saves much trouble, as some men are inclined to get drunk when the opportunity offers. I visited Fort Slocum today. Some of the 4th Rhode Island Regiment visited our camp today. October 27th, 1861, Sunday, Reverend Mr. Osgood of Lynn, Massachusetts, preached to the regiment this morning. At dress parade, an order was read announcing the death of Colonel Baker of the California Regiment, killed at Ball's Bluff. The men have employed their time today in making visits upon their comrades in other camp areas. New dress coats were issued today, but as all the companies did not receive them, we did not wear them at dress parade. I still like the Rhode Island blouse the best, as it is loose and more comfortable. We make the best of everything and are becoming quite ingenious in inventing all sorts of conveniences for use in our tents. October 30th, 1861. Today we had a fine drill. The following regiments took part, and the drill was held near Kalorama Heights: 2nd Rhode Island, 7th Massachusetts, 36th New York, 1st United States Chasseurs, 65th New York, 23rd Pennsylvania, 61st New York, and 1st Long Island Volunteers. The 6th Pennsylvania Cavalry, Rush's Lancers, were drilling at the same time. A cavalry charge astonished us somewhat, but I prefer to be on foot with a good musket in my hands. Our regiment has drilled the formation of square to resist cavalry, and we think we are in fine condition for service. We are disgusted with the newspaper talk about the Army. If the stay-at-home heroes would come out here, they would change their minds about Army life and movements. November 5th, 1861, Tuesday. Much to my surprise, Colonel Wheaton sent for me today and asked if I would like to be detached as clerk at the headquarters of our division, commanded by General Don Carlos Buell. Of course I said yes, and so the order was made out and read at dress parade. George Clendenin, whose place I take, has been made Sergeant Major of the 2nd Regiment. I regard this appointment as a promotion, and certainly as a great favor, for it will relieve me from all-night duty as well as drills. General Buell's headquarters are in tents in a field near our camp, and one is assigned to me as an office. The general is undoubtedly a good soldier, but I am inclined to believe a martinet, for he requires the clerks to stand while he remains in the office tent. But he is kind to me, and I rather like his style. So goodbye to the 2nd Rhode Island Volunteers for the present, and I shall do my duty in my new position, for aside from the satisfaction of doing right, I know that if I conduct myself aright, I shall receive further favors and perhaps promotion. Near our headquarters is Mr. Ray's house, and I find it pleasant to visit him there at times. November 9th, 1861. General Buell was relieved from the command of the division today and has been ordered out west. November 10th, 1861. General Erasmus D. Keyes arrived this morning and assumed command of the division. As he entered the tent, we arose, saluted, and remained standing as we did with General Buell. The general said, "Sit down, boys, and attend your work. I don't want you to stand up for me. When I come in, you say, 'Good morning, General,' and I will say, 'Good morning, boys,' and that is all that I require." We were somewhat surprised, for both generals are regulars, and we thought all regulars were alike. However, we are pleased with our new chief and expect to have pleasant times with him. We have not seen all of his staff as yet, but Captain Charles C. Suydam and Lieutenant Bradbury C. Chetwood have reported. Captain Soydam is to be assistant adjutant general, and Chetwood, aide-de-camp. The captain is a tall, slight-built young man and a lawyer by profession. He is very pleasant to us, and as I am to serve under him, I have watched him very carefully. A guard is detailed daily from the troops for service at headquarters. There are 3 brigades in the division, commanded respectively by Generals Darius N. Couch, John J. Peck, and L. P. Graham. The 6th Pennsylvania Cavalry and 4 Pennsylvania batteries are attached to the division, quite a little army in itself. Headquarters, Keyes Division, Washington, D.C., November 24, 1861, Sunday. During the past week, General Keyes moved his headquarters to Washington, and we are now located on the corner of Pennsylvania Avenue and 19th Street, in the 4th story of a building formerly occupied by General McClellan. We came in baggage wagons and brought only our desks and table. Furniture will come after a while if we can find any. Today I have taken a walk in the President's grounds and then visited the camp of the Michigan Cavalry Regiment. Although I see soldiers every day, yet there is a fascination about them to me, and I never neglect an opportunity to visit a camp. I came back by way of the Washington Monument and admired this splendid structure, although it is in an unfinished state. If it is ever completed, it will be a worthy monument to the father of his country. I have not attended church today, as the work in the office kept me busy until after church hour, but I expect to begin to attend church regularly next Sunday, and I know I shall enjoy it, for I have not attended service in a house for 5 months. December 6, 1861. Keyes Division was reviewed by General McClellan. I improvised the opportunity to visit Camp Sprague and call upon friends in Battery G. December 8, 1861, Sunday, warm and pleasant. General Keyes has rented a house in the same block with headquarters and is keeping house with some of his staff. Miss Nellie Keyes, his daughter, is at home with him. December 22, 1861, Sunday, warm and pleasant. I rode out to Camp Brightwood today and visited the 2nd Rhode Island Volunteers. On my way back, I stopped at Camp Sprague and called upon the Rhode Island boys in the battery stationed there. One day is much like another at headquarters. We have a room where 4 of us clerks sleep: Corporal Elisha H. Rhodes, Private George Rading, 1st Long Island Volunteers, Private Isaac Cooper, 62nd New York Volunteers, and Private Volunteers. In the room, we have 4 iron bedsteads with good bedding, all borrowed from a neighboring attic where they were stored by the former occupants of this building who kept a young ladies' school. The desk that I use is marked, Nellie Gwynn is my name, America is my nation, California is my native state. The Lord bless all creation. We get up at 7 o'clock and go over to a restaurant opposite for breakfast. After breakfast, a smoke. At 9 a.m., office hours begin, and the general comes in promptly. During the day, the general sometimes goes out to camp, and many officers call at the office. General Couch is particularly neighborly and is very kind to us clerks. The morning reports from brigade headquarters begin to arrive at about 10 a.m. There are 13 infantry regiments, 1 cavalry regiment, and 3 batteries in the division. It is my work to consolidate the morning reports, and at 3 p.m., they are sent to General McClellan's headquarters. After 3 p.m., the office hours are over, and we go out for our dinner. During the evening, 1 clerk must remain in the office, and the others are at liberty to go where they please. For this duty, I get my corporal's pay, $13 per month, 30 cents per day for rations, and 35 cents per day for extra services. On this, we manage to live very comfortably. We have time to visit the interesting points in the city, and I have a horse that I can use at pleasure. I often take rides out to the camps and begin to feel quite at home upon an army horse. Letter writing usually occupies my evenings. although I occasionally spend an evening with young ladies whose acquaintance I have made. December 30th, 1861. This afternoon, seeing the general alone in the office, I stepped up to him and said, "General, I want to go home." "Want to go home? And for what?" he replied. As I could not think of an excuse, I blurted out, "I want to see my mother." "Is she sick?" he asked. "No," I replied. "I hope not." He then asked me how long since I left home and if I was ever away for so long a time before. I told him I had been in the service 7 months and never been away from home alone before. "Well," said the general, "you have been a good boy, and you shall have a furlough for 10 days. So I have made out my papers and shall start as soon as they are signed." December 31st, 1861. Today, after office hours, I rode out to Camp Brightwood, and my captain, Stephen H. Brown, signed my furlough. Colonel Wheaton was inspecting the 36th New York Volunteers, and I rode over to their camp. The colonel very kindly affixed his approval to the paper, and I then took it to brigade headquarters at the old Brightwood Hotel. General Couch first endorsed the papers as not being in proper form, but upon my explaining that I copied the form from the United States Army regulations, he wrote another endorsement of approval. That concludes the third part of the story. Thank you very much for listening. Please subscribe for more episodes and leave a comment.